Hey all, so I'm here to talk about the Thermal Lance Overheat versus Mech Abilities. I was told that Overheat does not affect the Tengu Sky Strike because I thought that it did, and I think it was during a stream or something, and they were like, no, it doesn't affect it. And they were right, it doesn't. But here I am testing several different mechs, abilities that, you know, you'd think you use Overheat, then they take more damage, and that's what I thought. That's what I thought, was that if you apply Overheat to an enemy mech, they would take more damage, period. But no. If you apply Overheat to an enemy mech, they take more weapon damage. They take the same amount of ability damage, and you can see this by this demonstration here with Cheetah. Now I'm using Redox. I do the Overheat first, but that's not really important to this because I can always do it later. You can tell it's doing 1.5 thousand every tick. And so when that happens on Overheat, you know, it does the same thing regularly. And I think this is interesting to know. I feel like a lot of people knew this before I knew it, at least. But I do kind of believe, I still stick to my belief that Overheat should make a mech take more damage, period. It should take more damage from abilities. Maybe it's just the way that they coded it, and they weren't really thinking about that, perhaps. That's one possible explanation, but all in all, I do believe that this is interesting information for anyone who wasn't aware. But on top of this, I had a few other questions regarding my abilities. For one thing, I decided after Tengu I was going to try Stalker. Now, Stalker doesn't actually deal damage with its ability, but I wanted to know how this stacked up. So, the Thermal Lance allows 50% extra damage. So every time you hit something that's in Overheat, every time you shoot it with this RPG, it takes 50% more damage, right? So when you're applying Overheat and you activate Predator Drive, does that mean that you're doing another 50% more damage? Is that 100% more damage? Or is it 50% more damage from the Predator Drive as a base, and then another 50% on top of that, which ends up adding up to more, basically. And that is what happens, in fact. The Predator Drive activates, and that becomes the base damage that the Overheat then applies 50% extra damage to. And I ran into this weird visual bug with Arachnos, where you place down its turret, and it doesn't show you the damage per shot for whatever reason. I'm not really sure what was going on with that, but yeah. And that happened both times too, so see, I apply Overheat, I can't see it, but I have the setting turned on. Turn away, still can't see it. As soon as I have it in a specific field of view, then it starts showing up. But you can see that the damage didn't actually change. Now here, I have my G-Lock pilot on, and this is for ability duration. I have an ability duration implant on. Now, Arachnos doesn't actually have an ability duration stat. If you go to the mech stats, it will show you ability damage, ability duration, ability cooldown time, for those that it's applicable to. Arachnos doesn't have an ability duration, but it does indeed get affected by the ability duration implant. It does more shots, therefore, you know, technically having a higher ability damage. Now, even though Redox does have a set ability duration, it does have a specific implant, a Redox Caustic Time implant, which increases only the stasis effect of the Caustic Blast, and I wanted to see if that was the case here, but no, it does more damage, same as Arachnos. And Tengu is kind of the same deal. I wanted to see if it would be more stasis, more stealth, or both. And it does seem to be indeed both. Now here for Stalker, I have the ability damage implant on, and I wanted to see if that would stack with the Predator drive. I was pretty sure that it wouldn't, because the Predator drive itself does not actually deal any real damage. And that is the case, although I have gotten questions of, does the ability damage affect Predator drive or Overcharger? Answered, no, it does not. It's the same thing. Now, before anyone asks, yes, I did try this on all the different mechs that, could potentially be affected by it. And this is the reason that I say when you're equipping your pilots and you're building your hangar, you're much better off putting on an ability cooldown implant than any other Mech Ability implant. Because ability cooldown is the one implant that applies to every single mech, and you're guaranteed to get some kind of usage out of it. Ability damage, ability duration, those are for very specific builds, and if you at any point decide to change your hangar around, your weapons pilots, you're going to have to unequip a few implants in order to actually get some usage out of it. So ability cooldown is the most useful overall, but some can be very useful besides that. I don't recommend you build any pilot to be mech specific. I recommend that you gear it towards specific weapons, because that's what the pilots are anyway. They're geared towards specific weapon sets. So just gear the pilot toward a specific weapon in that specific weapon set. Because more than likely you're not going to be using any more than one anyway. So I hope you enjoy this silent gameplay of Surge with Missile Rack 12s. For whatever reason, the audio when I recorded it was like almost 10 seconds behind. And I heard that I had this issue when I was streaming one time. So that's going to be something that I have to look into later. But yeah, for now, it's not going to have any game sound, but hope you enjoy.